I'm Simon Dewsbury, PGA Staff Professional here at Belmont Country Club. I want to thank you very much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notifications button, so when we release new videos you can see them when they get released and you can stay up to date on what we're doing. We've got some more content coming for the back 9 holes as well that will be released as we go into the spring months. But right now I just want to talk to you about the series of videos that were released recently. A small series on how you can warm up based upon the amount of time that you have before you set foot on the first tee. You could use them either individually or you could pair them together to create a longer warm-up session. But as a result of those videos, I've had a few inquiries both here from the members at the golf club but also online as to some exercises that you can incorporate every day into an exercise regime, or even here in the locker room before you set foot on the practice ground, so that you can make sure that you're stretching out properly before you even start to swing. So hopefully you can incorporate 1 or 2 of these exercises into your warm-up routine, and hopefully if you can incorporate all of them into a daily exercise regime, it's going to make your health and your golf swing a little bit better. Now, I'm not a fitness instructor, but these are things that my physios and my fitness team worked with on me when I was playing years ago, and I always found them to be very beneficial. Hopefully you do too. Let's go. So as part of our winter program, right now we've got snow on the golf course here. We want to make sure that we're utilizing our spare time as best as we can when we're not able to get out onto the putting green, short game area, or onto the driving range itself. As part of that would be to make sure that we're stretching out and maintaining our flexibility. We want to make sure that the core muscles are working and are able to sustain the positions of a golf swing. But as part of that as well, there are some of the extremities, so coming down into our legs, that we really need to make sure that we're working those throughout the winter periods. We don't get too stiff and tight. One of my favorite ones would be to actually sit down on the ground. And I'm going to maintain as much correct posture as possible with my upper body. I'm going to bring one foot over so that my ankle and knee are next to each other, and then I'm going to lean into the opposite knee with my arm and stretch around this way and hold this position and then slowly release it. This is going to work around the hip flexors, the sacroiliac joint, and give us the control that we need in our hips during the golf swing. Going the opposite way. Can use the elbow to really push the body around, but it's slow, controlled movements all the time. I would do this 5 times each way. I'm also going to do another one as well, which is going to work into my hamstrings and into my calves, which would be to keep my legs as straight as possible, run my hands down the side of my legs, get as far down as I can before my knees feel that they've got to start flexing to take the pressure out of my hamstrings. I'm going to hold that position for 5 seconds and then slowly release. We don't want to try and bounce our way down, because what that's going to do, it's going to overextend the muscle fibers, and then they snap back and go even tighter because they don't want to overextend again. So that would be counterproductive by bouncing our way through these exercises. Always slow, controlled movements, hold the stretch, and then slowly release and come back to your neutral position. We also want to make sure as well that we're doing the plank position for as long as we can, and every day we want to try and increase on that size if we can a little bit. You can also go into a side plank position, so again we're working the lateral parts of the core as opposed to just the abdominals and the lower back. So we can do that on both sides, maintaining as neutral as possible. So we want to try and do those every single day if we can. We also want to try and do a couple of stretches that are going to work around the core. One of my favorites would be to stand about a foot or so away from a wall, hands out in front of me, keeping my feet about shoulder width apart. I'm going to keep my feet flat on the floor, and I'm going to rotate around as far as I can, hold that stretch, use the wall if you need to as a support, and then slowly release, come back to neutral in front of you, go the opposite way. Hold, and then slowly again return to neutral. So that's going to help to work and stretch the muscles in the core. So we're strengthening with the plank, we're stretching with this particular exercise, so that as we're going through all of this, everything is working around the hip flexors so that we can maintain the hips in a Donald Duck position almost. There's a feeling where we're sticking our butt backwards in the golf swing, so that as we come into impact, let me do it this way around so the camera can pick it up. As we come down into impact, we don't get the early extension of the hips coming underneath us and our hands getting stuck. We can have that feeling that as we come down, the hips are still behind the body, and we've got lots of room to come in, so that we can then post up onto the left leg and rotate the lower body while keeping the upper body square to our target. So coming into one for that particular movement would be to take our golf posture, hands on the wall. So keeping our hands on the wall is not going to allow our shoulders to do a huge amount of moving, but it would allow our backswing and our follow-through positions to work, and we can feel if the hips are coming underneath us or if we're able to maintain that hip height, and we can rotate with the hips behind us. And you're going to feel that on these muscles just on either side of the spine, because they're the ones that are trying to pull your hips backwards and upwards during the movements of the golf swing. Most people, as we get a little older, we tend to slouch a little bit more. These muscles get a little weak. So doing these exercises is going to make here a little bit stronger. It'll make the core stronger, and we can work all around the legs so that we can get into better positions during our golf swing. So another one that we can do, again, all to work around the hip flexors and into the core muscles a little bit. We want to isolate the hips a little bit. So again, use a wall or a chair or something. So what we're trying to achieve with this would be to make sure that once we're in a good position, we're going to actually hitch the hip upwards a little bit. And it's going to make all the muscles around the hip itself secure. And then we don't want to have the upper body leaning. We're going to keep the upper body in a neutral position. So we hitch the hip up. We want the lower body, the leg itself, just to go out to the side with no other interaction. So this is working the hips and all the muscles around that point without the upper body engaging. And the other option would be to do it as well. Hitch the hip up. We also want to go backwards, and I want to go as far back with my leg as I can without my upper body leaning to get my leg to go any higher. So again, using the wall helps me just to isolate the lower body, and in this particular instance, gluteus maximus, my butt. So again, making the muscles in my bottom a little stronger is going to help me to maintain good positions as I get into the impact zone without my body breaking down and getting in the way of my club swinging through the golf ball. So neutral upper body, we're always trying to hitch the hip up with whichever leg it is, and then sideways or backwards, but going as far as we can without the upper body responding and moving. That's a really good one for working all around there. So again, everything is being built into the fact that as we swing, we're keeping the hips nice and strong here so that we're away from impact and nothing is impeding our hands and our arms swinging through the impact zone to hit the golf ball solidly. So I've got one more exercise again for the core. This one I was given many years ago when I had a back injury. My physio had me doing this, and it really is a killer. All we're going to do is we're going to get our knees into a 90-degree angle with our feet flat on the floor, and then lie back. Let me move that battery point off my body. We're going to get our lower back flat into the floor, and we're going to have our hands sitting on our thighs. We're going to come up into a sit-up position, but we're going to get it just so that our fingertips are just on the top of our knees, and then we're going to hold it for 3 seconds and then slowly release. Give yourself a 10-second rest, and then go back up just again to the fingertips are just touching, but hold for 3 seconds and then release. And you go and do through that through a series of 10 repetitions, and you can do, ideally build up to 3 full sets of 10 repetitions. Once you've done that, we're then going to get to a point where we get the crease of the wrist up onto the knee. Again, 3 seconds hold and then release. Give yourself 10 seconds to rest and then go back up. It's a little difficult to talk when you're in this position. But this is going to work the abdominals, the external and internal obliques as well. So this is helping to create the stability that we need through the core of the body as we go into the golf swing. Again, 3 sets of 10 repetitions. Start off with 3 seconds for a hold on each one. As they become a little bit easier, you can build up the time factor and get to 5 seconds or 7 seconds, and then push yourself so that you end up with a 10-second hold. But we do 3 sets where we're just getting the fingertips up onto the knees, and then we're doing 3 sets where we're getting the crease of the wrist up. Hold for 3 seconds on each one, and then when they become easy, move that time frame up or increase the number of repetitions that you want to do. Thanks for watching. Hopefully those exercises are going to be helpful to you in your own golf game. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so that you can stay notified as to when we release new videos as well. And we'll look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.